call is now being recorded.
Okay, we are at lesson 12, solving equations in your workbook. And I'm going to start a little differently than I did the previous lesson. And we're just going to look at an equation and look at some of the more simplified things about solving equations. And there's just a couple things I want you to be aware of. The book approaches this and they throw a lot at you. I'm going to approach it from a very straightforward manner. And it starts with, how do we solve for x in this equation? Let's notice a couple things. One, we notice our variable is x. It could be any variable. It could be y, z, whatever. But in order to solve for x, I want to keep in mind a couple of rules. Ask the question, what is happening to x? So this is a big question. On the left-hand side, there's two things that are happening. First, you see that initially, this thing right here, we're adding 4 to it. And so when you ask that question, what is happening to x? You always want to identify, well, I'm adding and it looks like I'm multiplying. It looks like I'm adding 4 and then I'm also multiplying 2. Multiplying here and adding here. And as I go to solve, no matter how complicated the equation is, I always want to say from beginning to end, what's happening to x? Well, let's start with the addition of 4. We then look to say, what's the opposite of adding 4? Well, the opposite is to subtract 4. And so that's what I'm going to do first. And the other rule is, what I do on one side, I must do on the other. And so that's why you'll see minus 4 minus 4. What does that give us? Well, it gives us the 2x and 10 minus 4 is 6. And so the first step was ask yourself what's happened to x, and I did. I was adding 4 and now I have 2x equal to 6. What's happened to x? Well, I'm multiplying by 2. What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Divide by 2 on both sides. And so here I go. And x is equal to 4. To check it, 4 times 2, x is not equal to 4. This is why you got to check yourself. X is not equal to 4. Here we go. Nope, it's not. But it is equal to 3. There it is. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. See? It's always good to check. So this is really where I want you to start. This idea of asking yourself what's happened to x. So take this, and we're now going to go to the workbook. So in your workbook, lesson 12 starts off with some open exercises that I'm going to have you we're going to do that in class together. But the first one, let's look and see what it means. Why should the equation, and then it gives you x minus 1 times x plus 3 equals 17 plus x. And then it adds something else to it, have the same solution. So as you look at this, why does it have the same solution? What's the only difference in these two? if you look closely, the only difference is right here. Because this is the same and this is the same. The only difference comes when you're looking at this. And we know that by the commutative property, x plus 17 is the same as 17 plus 7. So the answer by the commutative property. And that's kind of what you're going to be doing is again, pulling on your knowledge of properties to answer some of these questions. Okay, let's go to another. Here's another example. It says, exercise 1A, use the commutative property to write an equation that has the same solution set as this. So here we go. The commutative property says we can switch the order. We can switch the order. So I might write it like this. I could switch this order here, and it doesn't change the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I could change this around. And that doesn't change. And so just by using the commutative property, I still have equivalent expressions. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to go all the way back here. And I'm going to look at this one right here. So let's take a look at these. So it says solve for, in this case, R. So A, B, and C, we have equations to solve. I'm going to do these three and then probably stop for today. Watch as I work through these and see if they sort of resonate as to making sense. The first step is, again, what's happening to the variable? So I look close here and I realize that this is a proportion. And the one thing I know about proportion is I know the cross products are equal. Cross products, in this case, multiply 2r times 1 and 3 times 4. I know they're equal. So that's the first thing I notice here. And then what's happening to the variable? What's happening to r? Well, I'm multiplying by 2, so that means I'm going to do the opposite operation, which is divide by 2. And r is equal to 6. Again, I'm still asking what's happening to r. I was multiplying, and so what's the opposite of that? Divide on both sides. What I do on one side, I must do on the other. Let's look at B. Again, what's happening to the variable? Well, two things. One, I'm adding 5. And then the other thing is I'm squaring it. I'm squaring it. So I really realize that I'm going to have sort of a vision here of going backwards. And it starts with subtracting 5, the opposite to addition. And then what's the opposite to squaring a number? Well, a little hint. It's called the square root. And it's that thing on your calculator that looks like that. So just like we did in this step here, this is sort of working ahead. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And that gives me s is equal to 5. And remember, square roots produce two answers, 5 and a negative 5. You don't believe me? 5 squared is equal to 25, and negative 5 squared is equal to 25. That's one that we will see quite a bit. Okay, one more and then we're done. C. So let's solve this one, and again, I'm going to use my rules. Identify where your y is. It's here and here. And I want to be able to get the variables all on one side. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just move things around. Adding like terms. I've done this before. Y is equal to now because you have 5y minus 4y is just 1y. And now I've got one more step. I want to get the y, keep it on the same side. I have y minus 8. What's the opposite to subtracting 8? Add 8. Sign numbers, minus 3 plus 8 is 5. And there's your answer. So a lot of work with solving equations. We'll probably spend a couple days on this, but that will get us started. Okay, we'll have plenty of time in class to work on the workbook and some problems practicing. That'll be it for lesson 12 for right now in the video.